another day of the Will and Reinvention Jam stream. Uh, this is day 3. So for people who don't know, the Will Reinvention Jam, to get started, has been going on for day 3 now. It is a 1-week jam where it's to change the status quo with a piece of software. And the idea of why it's called this is if you look out in the world, there is no real wheel out there. As in, it gets reinvented all the time, and like really all the time. So thinking that there's don't reinvent the wheel, this idiom, is just a fallacy to begin with. So in this whole kind of thing is we want to see how far we can get by doing a new thing at the end of the day. And hello to you too. So we're going to look at the recent updates that people have done on this jam. So I'm going to just get here. So this is the Will Reinvention Jam. If you want to check it out, it's at handmade.network/jam. And it's all available here. So let's look at the recent updates that the people have been working on. So I'm going to click see all and see what's in the feed. So someone's got, here's a multi-element. This is for this project here. Okay. Interesting. Looks like it's a plugin of some sort. Or a plugin for a thing. Okay, cool. Yeah, what about this one here? This is the 16K image viewer. You can view multiple images at once. Okay, this is pretty cool. It's nice that you can render all this one at once. Have oh, cool. Yeah, that's a big image. That's a very big image. And you're able to render that one as well as all the others. That is pretty impressive. Yeah. And a lot of mapping they're doing and other stuff there. Pretty cool. What is this one? Is there someone's making a movie maker that kind of thing? That was pretty cool. You got a bid there. Someone's making an announcement thing here. What else we got? So what's this thing here that Jake's doing? Oh, is it something integration with his language? I'm not sure. Okay, what's Ben doing? I'm really excited with Ben, and he's simulating packets. So he's explaining how packets work across networks. That's pretty cool. Going to the right packet from each of them. Okay, I understand what he's doing now. That is pretty cool. Nice simulation tool. Okay, this one is slide. At simply slide, I set up an AIM GUI and SDL2, I think that base window everything. Lovely. Okay, what is Sky doing? Sky doing is lerping between 2 different side evidence field entries at the moment. Okay. I'm not sure what he's doing yet, but this is pretty cool. Some sign distance field thing. Okay, there's not many of the posters probably showed in the field. Yeah, these are just, and then here's mine from last night. But I'm going to show mine because there's no point. And there's all the other ones where we showed as well last night. So please go check them out. So today we're going to check out what I've been doing so far. So I apologize. I was going to try and do everything on stream, but I've spent about, let's say, half an hour, 45 minutes before this stream doing some stuff to clean things up because everything wasn't in a nice order. But I'm going to show you what's improved and where we got to so far and where we're going to have to go to next. So you already noticed this is not a free-flowing window anymore. It's just taking up half the screen. You can scroll through it, and there's a menu bar at the top, effectively, where it just says fractions with a tick box. It's like, okay, checkbox has got fractions in here. Descriptions, it's got long and short, the exact same thing, but it doesn't matter. And the steps are the same. But the ingredients have slightly improved here. So first off, we now got the ingredients. They are rendering as normal whole numbers here. These are now buttons, but when you hover over them, you can see them as normal buttons. The ingredients there as well as the descriptions on the things themselves. So they are nicely doing there. Okay. So one thing we've got is the portion sizes as well. Ready? Watch this. Aha. So it was originally set up as 11. So if we go down to, let's say, 4 little pancakes, notice everything's now doing fractions. So this one has got a third. And then not all of them do fractions. Like this one says a 10.9. And all that means pretty much at the end of the day is that certain units like grams and milliliters do not support fractions, but certain do. So like teaspoons will support fractions. Units like egg, like this is a third of an egg. But if I go up, this is 4 eggs, and it's got even plurals working correctly here. Yeah, it's got plurals working here. That's why you see pancakes or pancake. So you've got the plurals working as you'd expect. So you've got all of the fractions in here. No, not every unit supports fractions. That's the whole point. So grams don't do fractions. But teaspoons will do fractions, so you can do that. Yeah, fractions of a milligram, yeah. We can do some rounding there as well, just to keep things basic to the time being, to be honest with you. We'll probably round up to the nearest gram on things, But either way, it doesn't matter. It's just if they're small enough, I'm keeping the general things. But to prove things work correctly, let's change that to ounces. Change the sugar to be teaspoons, absolutely fine. Gram, that should be ounces. That should be, let's say that's in fluid ounces, or even go pints if you want, but fluid ounces, and that's another ounce. And look at it, that already looks pretty good. So you can clearly tell this is meant to be in ounces or whatever. So we look at this recipe and we can scale this as we want. So we could double it up. Let's say we're going to go 16 ounces this time. Okay, and it's not gone fully there, but we can probably do some more rounding settings to do this. You want to round up to the nearest thing. Well, what is the rounding factor? But so effectively, we need a pound of flour if we want to make 22 decent sized pancakes. She has said these would be small, like silver dollar pancakes, I think. That's what she was calling them. That's what they look like. So you got 4 eggs here, and it says plural, but if we go down to enough, we go to 1 egg if we want to just make 5 little ones, and that's all you need for the ounces. But you may want to change how this looks, but yeah. So will the reverse search work if a recipe needs 2 egg whites and I have 2 eggs? The answer is yes, because an egg white is a variant of an egg. So we already have that taken into account. So an egg white we're going to have that in there as a variant of an egg. It's not a. The problem is it's going to be a little bit hard because how do you do things like? Well, the recipe requires both egg yolks and egg whites. That's where things get a little bit complicated, because if you need 5 egg yolks and 5 egg whites, I also need 5 eggs. But basic naive algorithm go, I need 10 eggs. That's what I need. And you go, no. But that's going to be really hard. So there's going to have certain edge cases, like for eggs. You have to take those edge cases into account, unfortunately. Not everything needs the edge cases, if that makes any sense. But that's the unfortunate thing about this, is it is a database problem. Most things can be easily done, but certain things, like if they come into parts like eggs and egg whites, there's not much you can do about it. Like salt here, technically this should be a variant. It should be a salt, but table salt is the variant that we want. So I may just change that in the database. So ingredient, salt, like so. And you can see now I've also added some default units for different things in there. No, it won't do a recipe for cheese. No, we're not going that clever. But yeah, here we go. We've got all those ingredients. So the task for today is the ability to input data. So I want to first thing is to add more ingredients. That's going to be the easy bit. The issue is figuring out how to do this. So I want to do different views at the moment. So I don't just want the recipe view. I want to do a different buttons for the different things. Yeah, we're going to assume people always have salt, pepper, and water. They're the only ones. If people have, when we do the ingredient pantry, obviously, everyone, if you're a user, obviously, will have salt, pepper, and water in your search, which is why they are the first 3 in the actual list. Everyone, we're going to assume it always. We're not going to have, like, we've got oil, and we have different oils, obviously. But yeah, for the most part, that's kind of how it's going to work. If you've got any more questions, please keep asking. A lot of these questions are always going well. Any plans to let the recipe recipe list the tools, utensils required? Would make practicing mise en place easy. This is the hard part, because even cookbooks, they can be quite vague and they assume you've got the ingredient recipes right. That's a very good question. Do we want to assume everything in there? Because the more and more complicated we get with this, the more data we have to put in it, which means every single recipe that you make, like for instance, I've got a recipe here, old one. I've got these 2 old books. I've got more downstairs, but I haven't brought them. But yeah, these 2 old recipe books. Pardon me. You do need to worry about effectively the stuff you're using, right? The utensils and the other equipment, like if you've got an oven, or if you've got a whisk, or if you've got a bowl or whatever. the utensils list clearly needs to be optional, but it's most recipes don't even have them. So if you were going to do it, you would have to craft it. But then the problem is not everyone's going to have the same utensils. Like, well, you need to make sure you have a ladle for this. I'm like, you don't need a ladle. You can sometimes just tip the pot up and be careful. So you have to be careful. Not always the same utensils make sense. So it's more of a. I'm going to. It's hard to make this decision. I'm assuming you've got the utensils at the moment. That's pretty much my assumption. Not necessarily anything else. Right. Okay. Should we get on with the show? I'm going to explain what I've been doing for the unit. I'm maxed out. Absolutely maxed out. So I'm going to just unplug and plug again just to prove it. Sometimes that does something. I'm completely maxed out. Yep, I'm maxed out. Just checking. Can I add extra gain? Let's give myself an extra 3 decibels. That should double it. Okay, is that better? Or is this slightly worse? Is this a better volume for you guys now? Yes? No? Adding about 3 decibels probably puts it now to the 5 decibel peak. I'm trying to keep within the yellow range on OBS, is what I better. So yeah, I've had to boost it. So it's boosted full on my actual thing. Sometimes it's annoying to do. This microphone that I bought is just a Rode one. It's not even that great. I might just get another microphone. The other microphone I had was a condenser. This is a dynamic one. So the dynamic one doesn't need... yeah, it's a bit weird. It's good quality. I like the sound of it, but you do need a lot of... I may just have to get a boost on it or something. Yeah, SM7B. Yeah, but they're not cheap. And they're okay. I don't think SM7Bs are the best. I've used them in radio stations before for years. But like Shure mics in general are okay. And I'm not really a care about which brand it is. I need a decent microphone usually, like to talk with. So we can do that. It can always be something as a later date, obviously, not yet. So I'm going to explain how this works for figuring out that unit so we can render it as fractions. So the first thing is we take the amount, yeah, whatever we've done after the scaling we need to do, and then we're checking to see does it allow fractions in the first place. So if we can, not all things allow. So say you don't have allow fractions. What we're going to do here is if the amount is less than 1, we're going to pretend this is a singular amount. So even though in English normally you would go, oh, this is if it's 0, you'd say it's 0 items in English. But if you say it's half an item, you don't say half an items. So we're going to assume you're never going to have 0 over anything. So that's okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay. So then after that, we've got if the amount isn't less than 1, we're then going to figure out what the fraction amount is. I know I could just write fract here. In fact, I know in Odin, we have that function. Ooh, look, I was doing Valgrind stuff earlier. Apologise for all of that. Math. Fract. Fractional part. It's in here somewhere, isn't it? I swear it is. Unless it's under mod. Probably is under mod and mod F. Whatever. I've just got the fractional amount here. If I'm saying is if it's larger than a certain amount, which I'm 32 in here, then all we need to do... OCR cookbook tool will not be a good idea because there's no standardized format for any cookbook. So unfortunately, you're going to have to do it by hand. That's why tonight we're going to build the tools to input new ingredients and input a new recipe. That is the plan for tonight. Hopefully we can do this in 2 hours is the plan. But yeah, that's fine. I'm just trying to explain stuff what I've done before behind the screen because otherwise you haven't seen it. Yeah, but even HelloFresh recipes, I don't use HelloFresh unfortunately. Yeah, so HelloFresh probably does have a standardized recipe. That's great, but most cookbooks don't, so you can't just do that. So you'd have to pretty much have one for each cookbook. Yes, you probably save some time, but to write the thing, to do the thing, is probably take longer than actually writing it in manually. And especially, hypothetically, you could employ people to do this pretty cheaply. Yeah, I'm not saying there'd be minimum wage at all. God, no. because you want someone who's actually competent and knows what a cookbook is and knows how to cook and all that lot. So it's not actually a cheap job, it's just a lot of clerical work, unfortunately. Yeah, here's pretty much the thing. I'm just showing all the different factions, like pretty easy. Okay, whatever. Okay, says that's the undergo fraction. Let's do the fraction magic. So the fraction magic is pretty simple. We set up some predefined fractions. So we do like an eighth, a quarter, a third, a half, 2/3, and 3/4, and that's all we care about. And we try and find effectively. We first off we say, is the integer greater than the minimal amount? And if so, just print it as an integer. Just don't really care. Just round and print it as an integer. If the integer part is 0, but it's less than a quarter, then we're going to definitely print it in decimal, like 0. With 3 digits after the end of it, because it's too small to be represented by a fraction now. We can say even more fractions, but it's not useful. Really, you've got the wrong unit. The next one is we're going to find the closest fraction on this list. If it turns out the closest fraction on this list was, for the lack of a better word, any of these, that's fine. If it was one of these, the blank ones, then we're just going to round up the integer. That's one just going to round up the integer here and say there's no fraction part. So then the next question is very simple. If you've got an integer and it's greater than 1, then we need to put the integer value, then the fractional part. And then if it's not greater than 1, it's less than 1, we just put the fractional part, or if it's too small, put the decimal in there. Pretty simple, that's how it works, and you're just returning a temporary string. So when we come to render it, we do it. If it says use single amount, we're also trying to get the name plural, because not everything has a plural amount. But this is kind of the point, is because I will tell you one of my partial ideas. If this is a good idea for, it turns out the prototype works well, and we can turn this to a proper app and you can monetize it. The monetization idea is that these would be highly tailored, and you'd buy recipes. You'd buy recipe books. They'd be secured to your account. Obviously, you can download it. You can download them if you want, but they can just put one on your device where you've got this app, probably a web app. It could be just like an iPhone and iOS or something app if you wanted. Because usually I'd want it on my phone or an iPad or something like that. That'd be great. But if you can do it as a web app, it'll work on them automatically. Because then you've got your recipes, you can buy them from people. You're not relying on people uploading them either. Because people can, if you have there's these two different strategies. There's a strategy of, you allow everyone to upload it and do everything you need, and then people let effectively the market decide effectively. And that's a great option for a lot of times. There's a huge problem with that. The good recipes will be good. The vast majority of the things uploaded will be absolute crap, for the technical word. And it will cock up your searches. People will not be doing them right. And it probably would just be a worse experience for the user. Even if you did user uploaded, we could do a curated list where we, as like the company, would go, look, these you can do the reverse search on, or anything you've selected. So you could probably, the idea I'm having is you have everything we can buy, you can create your own recipes, and then you can share them to your friends. And you'd have to have friends, and you can share recipes between friends. But you do not have like a public recipe unless you, at the end, a verified chef or something like that, a verified cook. So it sounds like a very weird process. Like, why do you have to go through the restrictions? It can't just be open to everyone. You want quality. You really want the quality there. And especially since many cookbooks in general, bad. Many people, even if you read them through the back, it's not good. Yeah, and especially from well-known cooks and chefs. Each chef could say a bundle like, here's my cookbook within our format here on this website. So the cookbook, physical cookbook, would be 20 quid. But on our website, it could be, it could only be a £5. Because it's in digital form, obviously. It's not in a physical form. And it may not have all the pictures in it. It only has the recipes or something like that. Or it has odd pictures in here. And just simplified like mad. And if that's the case, you'd actually love it more. And for me, that kind of thing is the whole idea about this. It is meant to be practical for me. For myself, I would be happy with this alone. But I know other people would love this sort of thing. I know there's other tools that try to do this. And I think the vast majority have failed. I really don't think they're very good. They've got a big list of ingredients already. And then they outsource their recipes to another website. And then that's not solved the problem I have. The problem, yeah, the reverse cookbook is great, but you need to first solve the forward cookbook, as I say, which is what we're trying to focus on at the moment. And then if we've got time, we're working on the reverse cookbook. And it's just trying to get the order of when you do things correctly, because otherwise it doesn't work. Yeah. We could do what? No, we can have optional ingredients, obviously, and the optional ingredients is in the list and have a description. So you can have serving suggestions quite easily. So if we just, for instance, load up this, you can see here the last ingredient. We've got butter twice on this list, right? One is for melted and cooled to put in, and then the other bit on the list is for frying. Yeah, so pictures are always good. Yeah, and it's always going to be good for a plating. Like pictures always, we aren't going to do this in this thing at all. We're not doing images for this prototype. And also, images are really hard to get. What's the best way of putting it? Not all recipes need images, but the ones that do, you need professionally done. So this is actually a really in-depth thing. It's probably just as difficult as making an actual cookbook, just without the typography issues, because they'll be standardized. But yeah, making a cookbook is hard, and especially since you could get old books, and if everything's public domain, that's great. Even if they've got images in them and they're public domain, they're great. If they're not public domain, yeah, you're going to struggle. The images are copyrighted, but the recipes aren't. This is the thing. Recipes aren't copyrightable, but the images are. The diatribe, I always call it the description, is. If it's not just like a basic name like American breakfast pancakes, this is probably the worst description I chose. That's fine. So we're going to figure out, first off, let's create new views. So we have different views on here. We're going to click buttons across the top. So these effectively are tabs. And then the tabs are going to be view, add ingredients, add recipe. Okay? Fine by that. So I'm going to do all the windows, and we're just going to do different types of windows here, shall we? So we've got the title bar. This is, I wanted just things a button bar effectively, but the title row is crap. Let's just do items, shall we? Because I think I've cocked this up. And items I'm going to say are, let's say there's only 2 at the moment. But let's say there's 20. No, let's say that's 8. Will this do the same thing that I'm expecting? Oh, it says percentage fraction. Okay, that's not exactly what I want. Fractions. Okay, there we go. We then need to do different buttons. So, view. Window view, I'll call this. Yeah, window view. So we got the recipe, add ingredient, add recipe. So this is view recipe. So then we just need to have different, like switch, case. No, that won't work. That's not a good idea. If submit in UI button, and that's view recipe, and I'm going to do static window view, view recipe, add ingredient, add recipe, add recipe. I just want to see what that looks like. Yeah, they're okay actually, to be honest with you. Then we can just change this depending on which view we're on. So we can't do all windows, and all of this is not necessarily useful. So this is view recipe. So then I think half of this can move up to here. In fact, all of those things. And then switch on the window view. I'm just going to copy and paste that into there. and then view width, view height, and then use fractions. It's static here. But the thing is, we could only have to use that as window view equals view recipe. And we only have to click it if we're in that particular view. Bippity boppity boop. Dot, get rid of that 5. See, that works. And in fact, I can probably add a some padding. And the padding is just going to be some spaces. It works. Look, it works. Doesn't matter. Great. Yes. So yeah, right. So when someone's saying like with copyright and stuff, you have to be careful. Yeah. So same with phone books and maps, which is why Google will put red herring lane on a map to catch plagiarism, and the red herrings aren't facts. Yeah, not just Google. This is called Paper Towns. There's a book written by that. Right, there we go. Paper Towns by John Green. I've just now spoiled the ending for you. But the name of the book's the point. Sorry, they're just like little things that catch copyright. So if you've got a fake town on there, effectively, or only on paper, when someone copies your map, is to make sure that the copyright is fine. If that makes any sense. Okay. Okay, add ingredient, add recipe. So I'm going to do add ingredients first, okay? Let's copy this down, just go blip, add ingredient on here. So the first thing we need to do is we have to have a window for adding an ingredient. So we can view ingredient. We probably want to view the ingredients on this. Pardon me. Yeah, we probably want to view the ingredients as well. So we want to have 2 windows. Yeah, so we probably want 2 windows to go on. So we want add ingredient. Let's put this as menu bar height as 30. Because then when we go into here, there's a minus 30. We don't want to do all the magic of not knowing what all that means. And then the list of, so just listing a list of ingredients. So we've got add recipe, which has not even been added though, so ignore that. So when we do add ingredients, we've got list of ingredients here, and there's nothing on the right there because it doesn't have anything in it, because it's the same place. So we need to just do 2 of them. So we've got both of them there. Was Micro inspired by Dear Imgu? This is an Imgui. I'm not really sure how to answer that question. Yeah. Right, so we need to add ingredient. We need to look at our database. So when we add an ingredient, we have its name. We have the name plural, because there may not be one, by the way. So it'll be a the name buffer let's call this a buffer text. So the buffer. So let's call this a name. No, call this text. So we have some buffer data. So 256 is probably more than enough what we need. And then the length, it's going to be an int. We have the name, which is text. We have the name plural, which is also the text. So then we need to have a text box. I think it's a text box. Yep. Name.buffer. So first off, context, name buffer, name.length. Add no other results. That's fine. And then we need to put the name plural in there. Put them as static. And what I'm going to do here, so to make things a little bit easier, I'm just going to default to add ingredient. So then we can see what we've got going. Yep. Should be good enough for me. So I've got the rows all sorted. Let's say that's another 100. Optional. Yep. Just to see what it is. See, it says optional. Those texts can be align right. Perfect. And in fact, probably could make this a little bit so let's say 60, and that could be 150. Let's go 200. It'll be 150 is fine for the time being. We have density. We'll say if it's optional or not, depending on which unit kind you put in. So default unit. Now the default unit is going to be that thing that pops up on the right again. So we have this not list of ingredients, but it's going to be the selector. I'm going to ignore this list of ingredients, put that as another window anyway. So default unit is not optional, but it has a default unit to it. So we can just keep this as a blank space for the time being. And the same with the density. It's only optional if... So this is adding the data, so it's not... Okay, that needed more on that side, so let's try 100. Yeah, probably too much, so let's try, I don't know, 80? Yeah, there we go, it's fine. Would ingredient alias also be on this page? Good question. This adding ingredients is mainly for me. I don't think users would add them unless they needed something custom. And I need to figure out a way of handling custom ingredients for a recipe. That's a little bit of an edge case as well. You have to figure out what the general case is, like we have, and I think that'll cover most things. And then you have edge cases, because certain things will have like, we need a custom ingredient for this thing, like, whatever that custom ingredient is. Okay. The ingredient namespace is timed to the user ID. Dunno. I'm going to leave that for the time being. It's one of those where I only care about the work in progress thing at the moment. I'm not really that bothered with regards to what's it called? Anything else at the moment. Let's push that a bit further down so I know. Okay, so we have all this. Next, what we got to do is create a way to add the units. So like we have with the view the recipe, when we do the units, there we are, a hidden button. Yeah? But every single one is going to be it. So it's not really an issue in that regard. So unit kind, I don't really care about the unit kind itself, but I do care about the unit. It's so index, so unit index, it's going to default to 0, obviously. Unit map, because it's just every single unit in there, to be honest with you. That's what the map's for, as well as all the global units. Yeah, let's just get the global units in there for the time being, and then unit dot name. But these aren't hidden buttons. Well, they are hidden buttons, because then we have to set active unit index, which is not necessarily what we want. Then we do need to have this. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have to do the same thing, aren't we? Oh, no. That doesn't make any sense. So, oh, it's not going to be a hidden button. It's just going to be a button, isn't it? So we have a button. And it's going to say whatever the unit, let's go unit map, unit index, and then name. And then if it's going to do that, we need to do a select. Select unit. Bool. And then it will go to true. If the select unit is set, then we have this unit. So it's the unit select pops up. Equals false. False. Those static variables can be added to here for the time being. And then we've got the unit. No, that's not what we want with the selector. Well, the question is, how many different unit kinds are there? We don't care about unknown, so we have 7 of them effectively. Unit row items. There are 7 in a row. If there's volume, we're going to have 2 rows. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to have 7 columns. So for each unit in unit kind, unknown, continue. We're then just going to do this. Unit index is going to be whatever that unit is. Because we've got the unit, what's unit ID, I think it is, isn't it? We don't need to worry about that. We just need to do any of that crap. I don't need to set, there's nothing in that to set. It says unit doesn't have an ID to it. Does it not? It does. They're unit kinds. That's the unit already, isn't it? So that's what I want. Sorry. Default unit. And look at that. It's actually got all of the default units for us. And we need to change the layout for this. So I need to put item to begin with. So as weird as this may sound, I'm going to just reorder that. So it's out of order. It doesn't matter because then we've got it all started. That's a little bit horrible to see. And this doesn't resize. I don't know how to fix this. Anyone help me? I need to figure out how to do it. So we've got a window. We've got the context. Is there a current window anywhere? So no, it's container. Get container. Get current container. Container. We have rect and body, so we just need to change the rect. I think we need to change, nothing else. Oops. Shouldn't have clicked the X. That's my own fault. Yeah, so it does actually work, and I want to force the rectangle. Not expanded. We need to add another option to this, don't we? We need auto resize. Auto size? Oh, is it already in there? Wow, I'm a complete moron. It's auto size is what I was looking for. I think. Nope, it's not auto size. Fixed size. Let's just do another thing in there, shall we? Literally just add the new flag. Wonderful. Okay, so this is better already now. Okay, so we have some unit selector going on here. So we can set the name of the thing we're going to add. So, and we're going to want it all lowercase, obviously. And we have a name plural. So shall we start making another recipe? I had a test one, if I remember, in here. Some recipes, and it was a fruit sponge. So we had here fresh fruit as a recipe. And it tells you just as a random generic thing on purpose. So if we just, this won't work, by the way, it won't do anything. I'm just going to type it in. Fresh fruit doesn't have a thing in there. The default unit to this apparently is a pound. I probably wouldn't, you would default to a pound to a certain extent, and then you say the density doesn't really make any sense. But there's the other thing. So another thing in here we could do is, this is another interesting thing, is a self-raising flour. And there's this is an annoying thing about Americans. So self-rising flour as well. So self-raising flour is plain flour with baking powder in it. There's self-rising flour, which is an American thing, which has it's plain flour with a bit of baking powder, less than self-raising, and salt. which is a bit like, wait, what? Yeah. There is a good joke someone's asked. We are going to add a joke recipe now, which is a jam, obviously. Do that. So we need to add a density thing in there, which is a number. So that's fine. Number text box is that what I want? Text box number. Density. Step. There isn't really a step. This is the problem. Is it's not really a slider either. But maybe we could do it like that. So 0.1, something like that. Yeah, that's kind of a very weird number, but that's not what we want. It just does need to be a number text box, doesn't it? We don't really need anything fancier than that. Slider. We got number, but I don't really want it to be a slider. I just want it to be an input, which probably means I need to do all this. Let's call it a number box, shall we? Yeah. Okay, let's try that. There is no text box. Maybe I need to do all that because otherwise it doesn't work. So how does that get implemented? Shift. I keep doing control. It doesn't really make it. Now I know it's a shift. There we go, shift. Let's say if the density is going to be 1, because it could be 0, by the way. And anything that's 0 is, by default, fine. So this would be what you need to do for an ingredient, no problem. We click on the default unit. The density is only necessary if the unit, let's say unit index unit map dot kind. I'm going to switch on that. Not every single one has the unit, so we need to do. We can say it's optional still. Sorry, I don't know why I got rid of that. Optional. But what we need to do, if it's a mass or a volume unit, anything else we missed? No. Partial. Because if the default one is we'll say it's temperature, that's degrees C, by the way. For some reason, the degree symbol doesn't get rendered. because it doesn't. It's too dumb. Pinch, no fine, but if we go to kilogram, it's now got a density, so does liters. But everything else doesn't get set. So then we need to, once we've got that select, I'm just going to reset all this UI button. So add ingredient. What I'm going to do here is reset values. Doesn't mean it was successful. It does reset the values. But we can only do add ingredient. So we can only do that if the name buff name.length strings strip. So we got to do strings trim. To trim doesn't equal blank. Yeah. Then that's fine. Yeah. I need to import strings. Trim space. Oh, that needs to be a string. Okay, so this doesn't even get up until you've got something in there. And if I do loads of spaces, nothing happens. We have a plural, which is optional. Otherwise, it's just going to be blank and null. Okay, so we then need to try and submit. Try and submit a ingredient to the insert. So where's the DB? We've got insert, and then the value names. Insert values into args, and we have to pass the args. So this is dumb as anything. So we need to do the command names. Insert to okay, so insert values into ingredient. And then the values we need to insert are, we need the name. So we can actually just do this on multiple lines. The name. No, this doesn't work. Because this isn't exactly what I want. I need to check SQL because I've completely forgot SQL again. SQL insert. Because I don't want to just be matching. I need to be the table name, the columns. So that's what I need to write there, don't I? So I need to write the columns there. So name plural, density, default, unit. Yeah? They're the columns, and then the values we want to insert are trim the space. So I'm going to do this text to string. String. So it's going to be buff t.leng string strings trim space, like so. Okay. Name plural. We also need the default unit. Default unit index, and then we need the density. Okay, I'm going to be very careful with this because I don't want to clear the stuff if there's the case. If error doesn't equals nil, no, that's fine. And then we just need to do a previous error. So where's the DB check? DB check to string, I'm going to call it. Okay. If there's no errors, that's fine. If there is an error, DB error string is that with the error. And then what we need to do on here is push it up. You gotta pump it up. Yeah, and that needs a context allocator. Okay. Let's delete the original one. If there is a DB string doesn't equal that. Text. Oh no, UI text, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to try this, and we've got the database just in case. I'm going to try and add water. The default, no plural for water, but there is milliliters, and the density is 1. And in fact, clicking it is not helpful in this case. So I need to change that numbox thing, number box, to get rid of the shift in there. Which is not what we need to do. Okay. So I'm going to create water. Yeah. Just to prove it, these are going to be milliliters, and then it crashed. Oh shit, it crashed. Okay, so do milliliters like that, wherever the thing was. Warm. Water. Let's add the ingredient. Perfect. It doesn't matter. It looks fucking ugly, but it looks great. Can I push some stuff to the UI? Can I do push colors? Color. Draw text. Or is it under text on the widgets? Because I wanted a different color. Or you know what we can do? Forget or else exists sometimes. And I mean this. Yes, I did mean that. Thank you. So when I do the text, I'm just going to do it in bright red when there's an error. So that's 255, 255, oh no, 0, 255, no, not magenta. Put bright red. UI color. Again, water, add ingredient. Perfect. We're going to actually add an ingredient now, though. We haven't. We need another one. Shall we put castor sugar in, which is variant sugar? No, we need something else in here. Shall we put yeast in here? Like dried yeast. Yeah? So we don't. The unit is going to be in grams. And the density of yeast doesn't really make any sense. So, yeah, I'm going to look for the density of dried yeast. About 1.1. Is it really that? Okay, get ready. Bad use or other API misuse. Whoops. Okay, at least we now it tells us the error. So no dried yeast is 1.1. Because not everything needs to be added, does it? So literally, where is the adding to the here? So we're just going to put the values in here. So there's the name string. Name plural. Because it may be that if the name plural is blank, we don't need to do this. So I haven't figured out how to do the other thing yet. Just haven't. So we didn't put the name plural in there. So dried yeast. Units are in grams. Density is 1.1. An ingredient. And it worked. So if we then look in our database now, it's added. Woohoo! Isn't that wonderful? We have now added a way to add things to our database. Dried yeast, I found out, is apparently 1.2. What the fuck did it do? Oh, bugger. And That's an integer, isn't it? Oh my god, that did it the wrong way around. For fuck's sake. And it didn't even complain, did it? Didn't even verify that the integer that I have in here... flippin' heck. Audio desynced? I hope not. Is there some I don't see any frames dropped. No. So... there we go. So at least we've now fixed that. I'm going to just make a commit to this. So... ability to add ingredients to database. So we spent an hour, haven't we, doing this, which is good. We can commit that change so we can save our results. The next thing we wanted to do was add a recipe, which is going to be harder to do because you are going to need to do view your ingredients, and I'm going to have the pop-up windows for every single time. Yeah. So when we add an ingredient, we add the ingredient, and then when you click it, it's going to pop up, do some other things, does it things. Oh god. Yeah, this is fun. So far we're doing pretty well, by the way. This is actually pretty cool. Like, this is really pretty cool. And it seems like a really simple thing. Like, this is probably like, you feel like, oh, it's a project for someone like it, and they're learning programming, but why has no one done this yet? Okay, so then we've got to do we need a recipe for ginger jam. I think that's right. So, which means we need to add some more stuff to it. So we have sugar, and I would want caster sugar in there technically. So we have plain old sugar. Not everyone has caster sugar, obviously. Americans don't necessarily have it, but we have it. So I'm going to add into our recipe stuff. Go back to the recipe. I'm going to add our ingredient every time. So we're going to call this caster sugar. There's no plural to it. The default unit is that. And I think the density is about 1. Caster sugar density. It's not, apparently. It's about 8.85, apparently, interestingly. I want to know the caster sugar density. Caster sugar is... bulk density 0.77. Interesting. Okay, that was added. We also need to add stem ginger. Has no plural, comes in grams. Don't really need to worry about the density because it's optional for this, because we don't care about the density. Great. Same with this. We're going to do a green chili. I'm doing the actual recipe here. It comes in blank. The blank is items. There's no plural. Green chilies is the plural. Green chilies. Add ingredient. So if we then refresh, we can see everything is being set up as we expect. Stem ginger got the wrong density in there for some reason. It should have been 0. Yeah, which I know what's gone wrong there, to be honest with you, because I'm doing this. Yeah, just set it to be 0 every single time. That's why because I cocked up. Yeah, you can't see me, but I've been adding ingredients. So look, I'm so big bill energy. This is, you're right. You can't see a thing. But there's all the stuff that's going in here. Okay, so we need to make a recipe up now. for this thing. So I'm going to just say fit correct. This is all I'm going to do in here is correct add ingredients for density. Okay, done. Add recipe now. We can have text in there, obviously, like that. But we need to just copy and paste a lot of this. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And in fact, what we could do is do that. Then everything's kind of actually stored fine. How painless was the transition from 3 to 4? I updated fine, no problem. There are some issues I hate, like there's the split view thing, which I want to disable. I hate the split view because I accidentally hit it all the time. Otherwise than that, it was fine going from 3 to 4. Hello, Brian. Hello. Right, so we got that. We need to go to add recipe time. So we've got view recipe here. And this is lovely already. Look, I already flipping love this. That I can just do this. And we haven't changed the rounding system either, because 102 is just a little bit too over the top, in my opinion. And we could probably round the nearest... once it's gone over that amount, we can round to a normal amount, is what I'm saying. Like, okay, so if it's over, say it's over 100, we just round to the nearest 5, effectively. That's what I need to do there. That's one thing that's kind of annoying me. So, or maybe not even, if it's over the nearest, I need to round a mass. How do I do this? How do I round the nearest 5? Really? Because the rounding thing, this is just integer roundings. But maybe that's the trick. You meant to go... like that. Okay, so we could just do this round number to abstract it out a little bit, and then everything else. Can't modify the amount, but we can do, let's call that X. Yeah, that's how brilliant I am, just calling it X. Let's go to add ingredient. Go back to the view recipe. Whoops. That's the default. Oh no, when I was going to do it in Go, by the way, Silver Sky, I was going to do Go because I was going to do web app. But then in the end, I went, actually, web app is just going to take me quicker to make. I'll just do literally a just Odin app and be quicker. Not because I'm faster in Odin, because it's easier to make a desktop app than it is to make a web app. Just speed up the ease of using and doing all the collect stuff rather than me having to worry stuff. So that's not doing the rounding correctly that I expect. So which way am I doing the rounding? Is it divide by 5, then times by 5, I'm guessing. Yeah, look, that's... But maybe only if it's over, let's say it's over 100. Yeah? If it's over 10, we round by 2. And if you're like literally over 1,000, and in fact we could probably turn this into a switch statement rather than a... or the other way. If it's over 1,000, we should probably round by 10. Either way. So look, if we get there, we've got the different units now. And those actually do look a hell of a lot nicer. And we are kind of better off for it. I'm not doing any more rounding at these levels, but I will do, yeah. Exactly, spreading up the environment sphere, it makes no sense. It's just like, I want to get prototypes on, and it's easy to do in Odin. Odin's really good for making prototypes, who'd have guessed? But look at that. I think that rounding system's now, it looks like this is actually made for a, like these were actually made up. They weren't random numbers. Why limit 44? Because the default's 11, and I did 4 times the amount. And I went down to 1. That is why it goes up to 44. There's no other reason for it. Just 4 times the default amount. Just to show the number. Okay, so now what we need to work on is not the add ingredient. We want to now work on add recipe. Okay, so we need to add a recipe. There's quite a lot to a recipe. Well, this is half the problem now, because I need to figure out the different menus depending on which thing, and they're just popping on the side, obviously. Not always the best thing in the world. When we're adding a new recipe, this is add recipe, we need to add titles to it, obviously, and there's a menu, whatever, here. So when we add an ingredient, we got the layout here, and that was fine. Name, text. Like that. Okay, and then that can just be that, and that can just be that. Okay, perfect. So then when I come to do these, this will just be UI text box. So that can just be that. Oops, that's meant to be a pointer. Text box, there we go. So we have name is one of the things. We also need, what is in a recipe is the question. Because there's different sections to a recipe, obviously. There is the name, the author, which is just an index, by the way. But we have to select an author. So we just have a selection list, shall we? And a source, which I'm going to click blank for the time being. So we have author. I'm going to have the blank without blank. The source, blank without blank. There's the short description and long description. Long description can be a hell of a lot more than 256. So maybe, I don't know, just figure this out later. Long description. The portions and the portion name and the portion name plurality, obviously. Portions is just a UI number box. Yeah. Portions. Always one. And then we're going to clamp that, obviously, between one. So we do the max of them two numbers, because otherwise it's going to be fine. And we could probably clamp that because we can give it a 1,000 is probably something simple. We then need to do portion name. Portion name plural. Are they both required, is the question. No, but they will be defaults. But if one's set, the other must be set, so... like so. And then anything else in there? Recipe kind, which is just going to be default to recipe at the moment, default. Okay, so let's do that. So this is fine at the moment. It's still a little bit off the end. But they could just be -1s, and that could be about, let's say, 120. And then we don't need the blank labels every single time, do we? Not for this, at least. Okay, wonderful. Maybe 100 in there. We didn't need 120. Portion name means is it is it not just 3 portions, but it could be 3 pancakes or 3 hippopotamus or 3 cakes or whatever it is. This will produce 1 cake or 1 cakes is kind of the idea. So it doesn't serve 3 adults. It will be, this is a 1 portion. It'll be or like 1 cake. That's kind of the idea behind it. So like if I was adding to this recipe for, I don't know, ginger jam, let's call it ginger jam, then this would be a the description to it. I don't really have a description other than calling it ginger jam. So I won't bother. The portions for this makes no sense. This would just make 1 pot. Oh, there's the problem. It does need to be bigger. Pot. Pots. 1 there. Portions should probably have a name to it like that. So it has 1. And then we have to do a rounding in that. So math.round. So it doesn't do a stupid name. So if I say a pot of that, not pour, a pot, and then they're pots. This is ginger jam. The author will be me, obviously. Short description: a pot of fiery, ginger jam. If you don't need a long description, that's what you'll be doing. So then what you would have to do is, that is just that section there, obviously. The next thing that we'd have to need to do is the adding the ingredients and then adding the steps. Okay, so that's the detailed bit of the info. So we need to just do UI header. Let's call this the details. Expanded. Yeah. If we could do another header here. Ingredients. And then steps. Okay. So these are all not correct. Let's do that, shall we? Yeah, that's fine. I'll do it on the end. Yeah, there's nothing in the ingredients now, so we just need to add an ingredient. And we need a big static list of the ingredients. Ingredients, dynamic ingredient. But when I have an ingredient, this is actually not really useful because it's a recipe ingredient we need. So it's going to be we need to figure out there's the 4 things to it. So it is the ingredient itself, the name, let's call it the name. I'm writing this down sorry in text. So name, amount, the unit, and a description. Yeah, because that's all we need. There's nothing else special there. That already exists. So that's going to call this base ingredient, okay? Just for the time being. So we have name, amount, the unit, which is going to be a unit index. So it doesn't matter which unit it is. And then description, that's a string as well. But because those are, we had to add text in there. Okay. So then we can just add things as we go, add things as along. So we can then add ingredients. So we can't add ingredients until one's completed, really. We could add them blank, but that doesn't really make a difference. UI button. So dot submit in UI button, add. And then we could also have the icon, which is there an icon to do an add button? Icon. So icon. Collapse check. Nope, there's no real good button on there, so we just need to add. And all it's going to do is append, resize, what the hell was that in capitalized list for? Resize ingredients, yeah, so len of ingredients plus 1. Okay, so then we just need to have a big list of each of the ingredients, as so, don't we? So we need to have the row layout be what we're similar to what we've got in the view the recipe. Doesn't need to be exactly the same, but can't be. It's not bad if it's far off, is it? Like that. And then we have this thing here. So we're just going to copy and paste all of that. And it says reset. What's that for? Oh, we don't need that. It's this one I wanted, sorry. Because I thought that was a bit weird. There's more than that in there. And I'm just going to put some labels in here. So this is going to be out. For ingredient I in ingredients, amount, unit, name, description. Yeah? So that should be, we add an ingredient, we add another ingredient, and should the add be below it, I think. Yeah, it should be. UI, layout row, context, blank. Should be okay, shouldn't it? Add, and then, yeah, that's not very good. So let's try -1. Let's literally do it the entire width. Add. Yeah, that's kind of nice now. So this is going to be and I'm going to do that by star. So ingredient, so UI text box, ingredient amount. No, it's not UI text box. It's a UI number box. And then I'm going to clamp that number between 0 and not even 1,000. We're just going to do a maximum between those two numbers, and it's probably 001 is all we kind of care about. The unit is going to be a drop down for a unit selection, obviously, where we probably need to recopy this unit selection thing, don't we? Like, yeah, I probably want to set up this unit selection. Unit selector window. Oops. Context, viewport width, viewport height, I32. And then select. Yeah, we're going to pass that as a pointer. And then we also need to do the... oh no, that's the unit. Yeah. So that does the selection for us now. So if I look for this, we can then do context, viewport width, viewport height, that, default unit index. Just so I don't cock up and make sure everything makes sense. Unit index should be a pointer now. It's a pointer. It's there. Oh no, it's not, is it? Same with the select unit. Oh, bugger. This is why I probably don't even need to do this as a function, because we can just do it in line. So if I go to add ingredients, this pops up, no problem. So then I can then use it here. Static select ingredient, maybe int. Yeah, because yeah, whatever, should be fine. Unit selector window, context, viewport width, viewport height. Those probably should be globals at this rate because I keep typing them. But select unit, and yeah, I need to do this. Select unit, index, unit, ID, is it? Unit. There's no, what is this unit type? What did I call it? Unit. Okay. So, oh, that crashed. Okay. So if I add an ingredient, I click on that, that's fine. Now we need to figure out the unit to click on. Yeah? Which is this. Ingredient unit. Oops. And then this would be select index like this. Yep. So then if I add an ingredient, do that, that becomes kilogram. This becomes 1. We add another one, that's going to be a pound. That can become 2. That's fine. Where the heck is a printf of a number coming off? Print line or something? Here? That's in there. There's this, which I didn't need. Yeah, scroll left, so it's to do that later. But that's fine for adding all of the ingredients now, aren't they? For the time being, at least. And then we have steps, so we can add steps. Right, yeah, so you add steps. But we could probably also add a remove button in there as well. So technically I need 100, not just description, but you also need the removes thing. So minus, say 40 and 40 there, and then remove. Because then that's not even working now. That add is not working because I need to push. Oh no, it should be. Like that, I guess, because we need to give the context. There's 2 add buttons, that's why it's getting a little bit confused. Steps, and like in here, there's another one. Let's call this details. Okay, that's fine. That's absolutely fine what I've just done there. So minus 40, and that's going to be 40, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's not perfect there, unfortunately. So I think it's going to say add minus 35. I think that should be okay. I'm sorry, C like that is, but okay. Remove. And in fact, you shouldn't have remove in there. That should be. Can I do that? Yeah, that's fine. And then I need to do a. Which icon is it? Close. Yeah, that's fine. The 40 is probably too big. 32. So let's try 24, and then that should be 30. I'm guessing. Oh, it's ever so slightly off. So let's try 25. I think 5 pixels is all it needs. Yeah. It doesn't even need to be that big. So let's say 22 and then 30, so 27. There we go. And to prove it's in the right order, let's go 1, 2, remove. It doesn't even work. I can remove them all, just not that one. I need to push an ID, don't I? That's half the problem. Okay, whatever. So if I then go do that, 1, 2, remove. It removes everything above it as well, which is not a good sign. Oh no, because it's the ID index. Let's just call this. Let's call this account 0. Okay. Count we're going to keep adding, not the I. That's fine. Okay. And in fact, with the add at the bottom, I'm just going to cheat with this. So I'm going to add a padding. So I'm going to say 16, 16, UI.layout next. And next. Because then, yeah, it didn't look out that great there. So that needs to be minus 17. Yeah, it's not perfect. So let's try a little bit more. So let's try, I don't know, 40? So that means minus 41. That's not right, is it? That's not right. It's not minus 41. It's minus 81, isn't it? Is what I want. No, it is minus 41. I was right because it is from the end. Yeah, yeah. It's right the first time. So let's just try that as 80. And then 81. Yeah, I'll make a back. I'm doing commits every single time. I'm committing the actual database every single time. So that is my backup effectively. So I don't need to do a backup yet. To do it. So I don't need to worry. Okay, so that is fine. So the name and the description can be in here, can't it? So, no, UI text box, ingredient description. Because then this is going to look fine, isn't it? Look. We need to put some tight headers now on this because otherwise it's not going to be clear what it is from looking at it. It was clear from the actual thing, but not from anything else. So that's the amount, unit, name, description, removal, delete, remove. So let's see if that even works. Blank. I've not put the context in there, have I? Okay, so yeah, now we know what this is. We're not putting them in the, when we view a recipe, we're not putting them in there because it's a bit cluttered because we know what they are. But when we're adding a recipe, it's quite obvious what it should be. Yeah. Does that make sense, what we got so far? And then we need to figure out the add steps. So we've got to do the same trick here with the UI. It's going to be a little bit of a pain in the arse. Steps. And then that should be fine so far. There should be 2 different UI layout things though. I've got a -1 there, but then this is going to be for this. So we've got 50, 100. No, we're going to do 50 minus 27. That's fine. Because then we're going to just do in each one here, UI label, context, fumped tprintf %d of the I plus 1 as that label. Steps is not got the text in it. It says, but it's steps what? Oh, it's not a num box. It's a UI text box. Sorry. Add a step. And in fact, we can just do the... Not even big 50. Let's try 20. Yeah, that looks fine. Probably make this a little bit like bigger. So let's go 30. Just don't risk it too much. So we can add different steps in this, and this is going to be like random. But just to prove it, we can just delete any of them in any order. Ooh. Yeah, when it removes stuff. Oh, that's a good point. We need to 0 it. Yeah? Yeah, we're going to 0 every time we add it as well. So steps, len of steps, -1 equals that. And one thing I'll also do is add a maximum number of steps. So if len of steps is less than, let's say, 100. It sounds like a silly amount, but like, trust me, we need to stop people from doing shit like that. Same with ingredients. If len of ingredients is less than 100. Yeah, so max ingredients is going to be 100, I'm guessing. Max steps. Let's say that's 50. Honestly, there's probably no more than 50 steps. Okay. That's lovely. Yep. Because then we can just close them down and just deal on the steps. Oh, it's coming together quite nicely. You're right. It is coming together quite nicely. Oh, this is fun. We're nearly reaching our 2-hour mark, unfortunately. So I might not be able to finish it off tonight. But we're not getting far off. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, 25 ingredients is fine. I'm saying 100. Like, if you have more than 100 ingredients, you might be screwed. Just in general. So... we may need an equipment list, like sterilized jars in this as well. So, but we can probably... whatever the thing is. So... that's the one thing we need to do. When we're adding a step now, we need to get the name of the recipe. So we need to pop up the recipe index. So where we've got like add ingredient, we've got this, so unit selector window. So if we copy and paste that, ingredient selector window. So ingredient index, like so. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. Close selector, that's absolutely fine. So then we just need to go through all the ingredients. So for ingredient in ingredients, all of the ingredients, I'm guessing. Have we got global ingredients anywhere? Probably not. And that's probably not an issue. In that once you've got the things there, we probably need a global recipe finder. So we just need a big recipe finder. So it's just going to be really easy to generate, obviously, because we just, every time we ask for it, we can update the recipe list. So And that's one of the things I probably need to do, is it needs to give its own arena to this for the strings. I think might be the best option, because every time we get the data, we need to get the names out of it, which may be costly every time we update a bloody thing, but we only do it once. Ingredients. Ingredient. So we've got an ingredient here. So we've got the name, the density, and the ID. And that's... Does that ever get used anywhere? No. Let's say dynamic. Because it isn't. It is technically dynamic, but it's nice to start. Ingredient. Ingredient arena. So mem.virtual. Oh no, so virtual growing arena. I think is not a bad option for that. Yeah, so we're going to do that, and it's not in the database, but we're going to just init update recipes. Yeah. So if the ingredients are there, we can just we can get a single. We can just get the length, can't we? We can just find the count. The count. So we just want to get effectively the uint. Let's say that's U64. Yeah, that's going to be fine. How do I get the count? I can't remember. It's the count star, isn't it? Count star. Shouldn't have built. Should have just... Yeah, it's fine. So, if the len of the count equals the len of the G ingredients, then return. Otherwise, what we can then do is ingredients equals nil, and then virtual... Oh god, it's arena. Free all, effectively, is what I want to do. Growing arena. Arena utility. Free all. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. Because then everything has been initialized. So then when we can get the data, db get array of an ingredient. And in fact, what we can do is we can do the db select array. Do we do the select array from ingredient order by name? I think that's not a bad idea. But then what I need to do here is context allocator is going to be the virtual arena allocator for that global arena. I don't need the all return. I just need that. Unit index is not even a correct thing. I know, because it's just going to be the ingredient index for that. And I'm just going to block all that out. I'm just going to check it as I build. Update ingredients. Okay. So once we've updated the ingredients, that's fine. Then we can go through all the ingredients. And then what we need to do is list them, obviously. So they're just going to be all buttons. So if submit in UI button, context, ingredient, name. Then what we need to do is ingredient index is the ingredient ID, is selected equals false. Update. Okay. Let's see. It's adding an ingredient. Sorry, I'm being a little bit boring today. It's an ingredient. I'm going to make that, and then it's going to be the len of the ingredients, say 2. Just double up the other thing. So then we can just go through the ingredients, and then ingredient ID equals the ingredient. In fact, it can be a pointer to it, obviously, can't it? So we don't just have to take a copy every single time. We can just do a pointer, and that should be a pointer. Reserve. And by the way, the 2 times there is so it never needs to grow. It's always going to be a fixed size, and it's going to be good cache awareness, effectively. So that's the question with the ID index for the ingredients. Do they start at 0? For water. Shit. Water's 0. Ah, fuck. Oh, shit. Shouldn't have done that. Should not have done that. I don't think that's a problem to rearrange where water is, because does the recipe I used, recipe ingredient, use water everywhere? No, that's absolutely fine. So if I say if I call that null, let's call that null. Let's call that water 1, and the default unit is 6. Yeah. That can be a blank name, blank density, and then default unit is 0. That's got everything in there now. So that's actually okay. Whew. Oh, always really always make 0 value useful. It does actually help, especially for databases. That's adding a recipe. It says base ingredient. We've got the name, the unit. So it's the unit there. So that's the base ingredient dot unit. If that equals 0, clearly we need a button. And that's just going to be the name. Unit name equals that. So if it doesn't equal 0, that's fine. But if we do submit in unit name, then the trick to that is there we're going to select unit. We'll do them, both of them. So that becomes select units true, and then the index is going to be I. We can then get the name every single time because we've got the unit. Oh god, why did we just do it? The unit map. Ingredient unit dot name. So if I'm clicking on that, there's the unit name. So that works. But that's not the unit, not unit name. We need the ingredient name. I meant ingredient name. That's going to be an index, isn't it? Not the name of the ingredient, it's just the index. Name, it doesn't equal 0. Name index, let's call that name index to make it very, very clear. It's not a string. Oh, bugs. What did I just do? I always press the wrong buttons. Where's this name index? Name index gives me the name. Then it gives me the name I need to put in there. Then we've got there, select unit. No, we want the select ingredient. And like where does here, we want to select the ingredient is going to be false. Yeah? But they both get the same index, which is fine. So then when we come to do this, select, they're going to be the ingredients, yeah, that's fine. Ingredients. Select. No, it's going to be the name index. Whew. Okay, so can we do this? Name. That didn't work. That's because I didn't do ingredient selector window. Ahoy! Look at that. Ingredient selector window. We then need to do not the 7, but we only need to do 1. If ingredient.name equals blank, continue. But the rest is absolutely fine. So we're going to add, let's add the, literally, let's just pretend we're adding the recipe. Okay, so 250 grams. We're looking for stem ginger there. Wonderful. We need to get rid of that name, because that name is actually pissing me off now, because I didn't mean to do that. Come on. Okay, so 250 grams-ish of grams. We want stem ginger. We've not really got any description for that, so that's fine. This is just us figuring things out. 250 grams, so half the weight, obviously, if you didn't guess, of caster sugar. Yeah? Same in water, but in milliliters this time. If water. And in fact, what I need to do there is, I've just realized one thing. If I do a name and the unit is blank, for instance, if we select a, let's say this was successful, right? If ingredient if ingredients name index doesn't equal 0, right? Yeah. If the name doesn't equal 0, because the problem is I've just realized there's one thing in my database I don't set up for the recipes is the default value. So default unit index. So let's call this default unit. If there even is a default unit in index is what I'm trying to say. Unit equals 0. Then what we need to do is yeah. Then we set it. Where have I gone wrong? I needed a comma. Get rid of the extra ampersand there for no reason. Default unit. Get rid of the index. Okay, so let's say it crashed, and it crashed. Misuse of no such column. Right, what was the ingredient? We have default unit, not default unit index. No wonder there's no such column, because there is no such column. Let's try some water. Gives me some default units for me, obviously. That's wonderful. But okay, so we're going to add stem ginger. That's 250 grams. Add some water. No, not water yet. I want caster sugar. I'm doing it in that order just because I want to do it what I did originally. Caster sugar. Pinch is a caster sugar's got a pinch. Don't think that's correct. So let's check it, shall we? Caster sugar. Default unit is 2. And I want it in grams. So unit is 2. Okay. So why did I get the wrong number? So it is got caster sugar, but the default unit should have been 2. Why was it saying something else? Like it was a pinch, which is 25. That's weird. Yeah, I need to call it a night soon, really do. Stop. So where's the caster sugar in this list? Here, default unit is 2. Okay. So why was it doing the wrong one as instead of pinch? So the ingredient unit, which is equal to 0, we set it, and it doesn't equal 0 itself. Then what we have is the ingredient.unit equals the default unit now. Yeah? So that's the name index of the ingredient. We get all the ingredients, it should have a default unit to it. Then we've got the ingredient.unit here, which is the unit map, and that should be fine. That should be absolutely fine. So, if I do caster sugar again, it says pinch, but it isn't pinch, it is grams. So, butter, no default units for butter, even though grams would probably make sense. Milk, milliliters, perfect. Stem ginger, grams, yeah, perfect. Caster sugar, pinch. Why is that wrong? Select Ingredient, there we go. Ingredient ID. Let's try this again, shall we? Caster sugar. Default unit says 2, and it put pinch in there for me. Why is it doing it wrong? What the fuck is going on there? I don't get it. So it has got the right number. We are actually getting the right number in every case. So are we rendering it correctly? Is the unit the right amount? So ingredient unit. Unit map. I don't know. So I'm just stretching. I'm getting tired and achy. So yeah. Okay, so this is my brain's not working because I do need to go to sleep soon. So why is it this not working? Yeah, that is actually really confusing me now. So we've got the ingredient, we've got the amount gets clamped-ish, maxed, whatever, clamped, lower clamped. But the upper map doesn't make any sense because this doesn't make any sense then. I don't care. It's going to spam it. I don't really care. I just want to test it. It says pinch. So the unit map is wrong. Okay. But let's just check to see if this is wrong. 25. It is actually wrong. It says it's wrong. Which is interesting. I'm guessing my mapping is wrong. Yeah, my mapping is wrong, so it must be. It's the only other thing I can think that's wrong. So that's a unit map. It's got an index and goes to the unit. But I think unit map is ID must be wrong somehow. I'm not sure how, but it is. I'm literally just going to do a print, fancy print, which is that of the unit map. Because it only gets initialized once. Stop. 25 it says, but it isn't 25. Oh no, wait. This isn't wrong. I was right. It is getting wrong. It's getting corrupted. The select integer pointer is setting the wrong index, and it's because it's the name index. Is that right? And you got the unit index. Okay. But this is where it's getting cocked up, because it's going to like, okay, if the unit is 0, which it might be, if the unit is 0, I'm going to see if it does set a default unit for me and what happens, because I'm doing it before and after. Caster sugar. All that shit, which I can actually clean up, can't I? I can just do this. Fumt %s. No, it's s, comma, len, I think is what I need to do. I think that's how I format that foot text, by the way. And then that doesn't get rendered then. So we can render this correctly. In fact, you know what? We'll quote it as well. Caster sugar. So we have a text buffer empty. There's nothing in it. This then gets added 25 as the unit. So the default unit for this ingredient name index. So the ingredients don't get the right name index, do they? Shit. So is this set up wrong? This one wrong? It says 10. What is caster sugar? Ingredient. Caster sugar is 10. It has a default unit of 2. Yeah? Let's see what happens with all this. It has told me this is salt. Okay, so I'm setting up the update the ingredients wrong. This is an ingredient ID, which appears to be wrong. Let's just imprint every single ingredient and see what happens. Oh god, that's... I'm an absolute fucking moron, aren't I? That's why it doesn't work. Oh my bloody hell, I got the wrong thing. This is where you have to be careful sometimes. So, let's get rid of that printf. Get rid of these. It should be working absolutely fine now. And I'm going to call that a night after this. Look, it's got the right one. Perfect. Okay, we can do this. So, let's just write it out. 250 grams of stem ginger. Yep. We want caster sugar. And we want 125 grams of that. We then want water. 125 grams. And then I want a chili, green chili in there. Doesn't matter which one. And I only want one of them. Right? We have some steps. So the steps are for the ginger jam. Peel and roughly chop some ginger. Until there is about... until there is about half the weight in pulp total. No, import. Oh shit, don't matter. Did no one do? But don't matter. You can see what I'm writing. It works. So I'm going to make a little video of this, by the way, now. So make this full screen so people, it does render better. Pardon me. We have add ingredients. I say there is water. Oh, it didn't work. That's fine. Can we just say remove error after a period of time? What's it called? Add ingredient. Right. View recipe. Great. I'm going to turn this into a video. It'll be a very big video, which probably means I should probably get rid of the scaling in the... No, go away. Where the flipping heck is the scaling gone? Is it in main, isn't it? I haven't even got main open. Render scale. 1. Wow, this is quite big. But if we make it... View the recipe. That's actually quite nice now. So if I just go, let's do a video, right? Teaspoon, 3 teaspoon. Yeah, I'm adding a very long list if you didn't guess. So let's go to stem ginger. Caster sugar. Uh, 125. Green chili. 1. There we go. That was a very long video. Probably not the best one in the world. But it worked. And now I can add that as a thing to advertise with. So I think this has been a good day so far. I think this has been very, very productive, is the best way of putting it. I think I've done quite a lot. And what wheel are we inventing? The cookbook. So if you want to follow more of this development, obviously, I'm just going to add this to the handmade jam, which is over here. And I'm going to share my progress with the jam, of course. Well, let's call this fractional unit showing. Ability to add units. An ability to add ingredients. Ability, we haven't got there yet, but ability to add recipe, fractional unit showing, and basic rounding. Basic rounding. Ability to add ingredients with default units and plural names. Ability to add recipe, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to just do this. It's a 2.5 minute video and save. So I think that is, I'm calling that a night. It's saving because I've got to upload it. So thank you very much for all listening tonight. I'm going to go bed now because it is nearly past my bedtime. I know, I've got bedtime because I set my own, whatever. So good night, everyone. And please, please check out the jam in general. Check out what everyone else is doing and have fun, everybody.